lawns with its fresh green hues and scented the air with the raw vigor of new life, all sharp and clean. Jessie Calder breathed in its wild fragrance as she stepped out of the pickup's passenger side. Emblazoned on the truck's door panel was an enlarged version of the CCC brand. Below it, block letters spelled out the name Calder Cattle Company. There was little about Jessie Calder that would suggest to an outsider that she was the current head of a ranch that numbered over 1 million acres within its boundary fences. As usual, the widow of Chase Calder's only son was dressed in cowboy boots, blue jeans, and a brown Stetson hat. A smoothly tailored white blouse was the only exception to typical working attire. A feathering of lines around her eyes and mouth revealed that she had passed the 50 mark a few years ago, but she had yet to lose her lean, boyish figure. And the silvering of gray in her hair had only the effect of lightening its once dark honey color. Without a doubt, Jessie Calder was a handsome woman, indelibly stamped with an aura of calm competence. Much more subtle was the air of authority that emanated from her as well. Turning, Jessie reached into the truck's cab and collected the western-cut suede jacket lying on the front seat, then closed the passenger door. The freewheeling whine of a semi on the interstate drew her eye to the divided highway. Almost automatically, her glance leaped beyond it to the sweep of far-reaching plains that stretched north. It was a big land, spreading beneath an even bigger sky. Strangers saw monotony in its seeming flatness, without discerning its rippling muscles. But Jessie had been born and raised on these lonely, rugged plains. She knew the riches they possessed, and she also knew how harsh and unforgiving they could be. This was a land that bent to no man's will for long, but for those who chose to live with it, there was a bounty to be had. The continued existence of the CCC ranch was proof of that. Almost with regret, she pulled her gaze away from the wide land and scanned the collection of vehicles parked in the motel's paved lot. The absence of a particular one cut a puzzled crease in her forehead as she joined the tall, lanky cowboy waiting for her at the curb. He went by the name of Laredo Smith, although Jessie had long known that wasn't his real name, just as she knew he was a man with a past that wouldn't bear scrutiny. Yet she had never attempted to learn his true identity. On the CCC, people still lived by the codes of the Old West. Foremost among them was the unwritten rule that a man was judged by what he did, not what he had done. And Laredo Smith had proved his loyalty and worth years ago. More than that, she loved the man, something that still slightly amazed her, especially when she recalled how certain she had been that her late husband was the only man she would ever love. "I don't see Trey's pickup," she said to Laredo, referring to her 24-year-old son in the CCC Air. "He left the ranch before we did. I thought for sure he'd be here by now." A smile lit Laredo's blue eyes, the twinkle in them softly chiding. "Tank Willis and Johnny Taylor rode with him. Judging from the tent and sleeping bags I saw piled in the back of Trey's truck, I'm guessing they plan on setting up camp at the fairgrounds. I don't imagine either Johnny or Tank favor the idea of wasting money on a place to sleep when they don't plan on doing much of that this weekend." "That doesn't exactly surprise me," Jessie said with a wry smile. "I didn't think it would," Laredo replied easily. "After all, can you think of a better time or place for a bunch of young studs to roar and paw the ground than at the famous Cowboys' Mardi Gras?" Tucking a hand under her arm, he leaned close and whispered near her ear, "Maybe an old stud, too." Jessie laughed as she was meant to do, but not without a little curl of anticipation at the veiled suggestion in his voice. A Cowboys' Mardi Gras was the nickname the locals had attached to the annual Miles City bucking horse sale, traditionally held on the third weekend in May. The 3-day event was part auction and part rodeo. Owners from across the country brought their rough stock, both broncs and bulls, to Miles City. Riders, many of them area cowboys, bucked them out of the chute. Afterward, the animal was auctioned off. Those that were rank, cowboy vernacular for bucking hard, were usually sold to rodeo stock contractors for high dollar. The rest went for a considerably cheaper price. The chance for local cowboys to win prize money in the rodeo arena was a definite draw, and the other festivities